Joe Gibbs Racing was the star of the Las Vegas show last week at the first round of 12 race in the NASCAR playoffs. The more you picked from Joe Gibbs Racing, the better you did in fantasy. Blaney and Hamlin winning that race, and Martin Truex and Kyle Busch following him in that top 5. Team Penske, they'd give you a good above 30 points a day, but the bulk comes from Joe Gibbs Racing if you're looking at getting a 220 and beyond points a day. Hendrick Motorsports, there's quite the mixed bag. You got Chase Elliott that almost could have won that race. We could have just caught up to Denny Hamlin. Kyle Larson with a baffling pit road strategy call that sent him to the back and had to fight his way just for a top 10 after dominating the first stage. Alex Bowman and William Byron with some early struggles have them outside the top 20 and in a hole for the NASCAR playoff grid. Heading into the second week for Talladega. Right before we get into our lineups for Talladega, let's take a look at our quick results from Las Vegas. I'd say the quick summary for all of my lineups is that I didn't have enough Kyle Busch plays, more so on Team Penske. I was just focusing on having a safe and balanced kind of results for my fantasy. How about some of your lineups, Andrew?
For me, I really just focused on Larson a lot. I mean, I probably should have thrown a lot more Hamlin plays into the bonus plays, but other than that, it was not a bad day. Another thing to note is I should have trusted the Penske's a bit more.
Right. Especially Brad Keselowski. He would end up getting 35. Just only a few points back from Ryan Blaney, but having a good amount of Penske drivers. If you didn't want to go all in on Joe Gibbs this week, then you're just fine right there. But now let's look into our top 8 results from the Las Vegas week. Actually, the big surpriser, not just Joe Gibbs Racing, but right after getting eliminated from the round of 16, here comes Tyler Reddick. He gets himself a 6th place finish, double-digit stage points for a total of 43 points. How about that?
Yeah, his car looked really fast, and I think their car is really suited to these 1.5 mile tracks.
Yeah, Reddick, he's proven he really likes these high-banked 100 or mile and a half tracks. And if he's this good at Las Vegas, which before this race he's historically not that great at Las Vegas, then I like to see what he can do at Kansas in the round of 8 later this month.
Another surprise really just was Chase Elliott. Almost won the race. We put him as a void last week, but looks like he was not in a void.
Neither is Kevin Harvick, which right outside this top 8, he would get the 9th most points, right behind Brad Keselowski with 34 points on the day. So not big a void, but there is some truths into avoiding Harvick and saying that, okay, he didn't get the most points, not to the likes of Joe Gibbs Racing or Tyler Reddick up there in the top 4.
It was a good place for him to test out his 550 package and maybe consider deploying him at Kansas or Texas in the round of 8.
Yeah, I'm liking the likes of Texas and even next weekend at Talladega, because Talladega is going to be the big wild card race of this round of 12, more so than the Charlotte Roval the following week, because honestly, it's going to come down to, okay, which driver do you want to deploy for this race? How much do you want to hold back? I'd say the latter might be the best option, because we're looking at, there's a lot of good non-playoff drivers that can probably out-survive most of the playoff drivers, because looking at this group, below that top place, we're talking the likes of all these other drivers that, okay, they're not going to be gunning for stage points, but I do like their chances at surviving. But before we get into those sleeper plays, I want to pay close attention to Chase Elliott, our runner-up finish from the Las Vegas race. Now, this is quite the tricky play to situate with Chase Elliott. If you're at 5 or more, if you're at 4 or 5 plays left with Chase Elliott, do consider Talladega. That means if you trim your plays down to 3 after Talladega, you'll have to pick either the Charlotte Roval, you're going to have them at the Charlotte Roval, Kansas, Martinsville, and then you might have to ditch Phoenix, which if he's a part of the championship 4, then that might be the smart play, because assuming Elliott doesn't win Phoenix that race, then he's only going to get at most 35 points. And if you want a chance at maximizing your points that you earn with Chase Elliott, then try to go with the route that doesn't include Phoenix, which might mean that you have to take your chances with Chase Elliott at Talladega, which, with most of Elliott's results at Talladega, never mind his summer 2020 Talladega results where he wrecked out, Elliott's been doing a good job, a lot better job than earlier in his career at surviving super speedway races. He's up there with the likes of Ryan Blaney and Denny Hamlin and the other Penske cars in terms of getting stage points and getting serviceable finishes at the end of each super speedway races.
Yeah, and on to our second tier picks, blind spot plays. I'm going to cover the 8 car of Tyler Reddick. Coming off of that great run at Las Vegas, he's done really well at these super speedway races, averaged around 5 points per super speedway race here at Talladega. He's really just done well at surviving them. I would say both him and Austin Dillon, these RCR cars, just know a way of getting through these wrecks and whatever chaos is at Talladega. His Talladega results are a bit better than his Daytona results. With them Chevy bow ties, I think they can definitely get a solid top 10 in a lot of stage points.
Indeed. Tyler Reddick, amongst the drivers that are not going to be in the playoffs, he's going to be a very considerable starter for my lineup. Not only that, every time I start Tyler Reddick in all of the 2021 season, he's, for the most part, paid off. Besides the Michigan race, he's always given me instant 30 points, so that kind of consistency you might want to consider for Talladega. So I'll cover our long shot plays here. We're going with Corey LaJoie. Now, a big reason why he's going to be a long shot is his better super speedway results come at Daytona, but I surmise there might be a chance LaJoie can bring some of that Daytona magic over to Talladega. Might be the same case with Michael McDowell and Bubba Wallace from the Daytona 500 into the spring Talladega race. So I think there's a shadow of a chance that LaJoie can get a good result. He's always there at the he has a good chance at being there at the very end. Him and his Spire Motorsports teammates in the 77 car, whoever it is in that car every week. Those two Spire Motorsports cars, they like to survive and get to the end at these super speedway races.
Next up is our caution play, and this one we're going to have Aric Almirola. Historically, he has done really good at these super speedway races, although in the past few results he has not gotten any stage points and he's finished in the top 15. Not really a reason why to deploy him at these super speedway races anymore, and even though SHR is at speed, I do feel like there are better options out there.
Yeah, even his teammate Kevin Harvick is looking like to be a stronger super speedway option from the SHR camp than Aric Almirola. Now, Almirola, he's like the Ryan Newman over there at Stewart-Haas Racing. He doesn't get stage points like you said, but at the very least he can try and finish inside the top 15 and give you above 20 points. But if you look at some of the other options, you could probably look for a driver that can earn you more points than Almirola. Just that starting in 2021, Almirola's points have been dropping off, kind of like what I've been saying about Ryan Newman at super speedways. But at least with Ryan Newman, his results are more on the upcline than Aric Almirola, because just the last Daytona race, Ryan Newman finished 3rd. So Ryan Newman's getting back into his normal super speedway form pre-Daytona 500 crash. So that being said, I got the avoids here. This is going to be a pretty easy one. We're going to be avoiding Kyle Busch. In the past, he's hardly ever finished inside the top 10 at any of these super speedway races, whether it be he gets caught up in stage 3 crashes or whatnot, or early wrecks. And really with these Joe Gibbs drivers, all they really need to do is just stay in the draft with Denny Hamlin and they should be fine. But it turns out, it proves time and time again that the Joe Gibbs teammates just break apart from Denny Hamlin and then they get caught up in a wreck. It's quite the repeating story there.
Kyle Busch, I'd say I've used them a lot. I only have like 2 usages left, and so really, I want to really just save him for like Kansas or Texas. You know, he won there last year, and even Martinsville, he's been really good there. Or at least he'll get you a top 10.
Right, indeed. After Las Vegas, you do want to turn a blind eye to Kyle Busch, because you got Talladega here, and then the Charlotte Roval coming right after this week is also not a very good track for Kyle Busch. But now, we're going to be setting our lineups here for the week of Talladega. I think For most of my lineups, we're pretty well low on Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson plays. Jackuwarz lineup, it's all the way down to one Denny Hamlin play. I'm going to have to pick and choose one track from the round of 8, so I'm not going to be playing Hamlin here at Talladega just for that one usage alone. And going into the lineup here, I'd say I'm going to be loading up on Chevrolet drivers for my main lineup. We're actually going to go with the Chase Elliott play here because I have 4 left. I think I'll be just fine going past this race with just 3 usages. I'll have to pick and choose 3 of the 4 tracks that are good for Elliott coming up after this. I'm also going to be having Brad Keselowski. If he wants to advance past this round, then Talladega needs to get a good result here. And then I'm also going to be deploying both RCR cars because I feel not only that these 2 cars, the RCR cars, are very good at surviving Talladega, but even if they do get caught up in wrecks, their pit crews do a very phenomenal job at repairing the cars and getting them back out there without even losing a lap. So needless to say, the 2 Childress cars, they're resilient at these super speedways, and knowing that, I'd like to have those kind of drivers in my lineup.
And for me, just going off of what Jackuwarz said, I really do have a lot of his plays, but also I include like 2 other guys that are really good at super speedways, as they have shown in the past. They are Bubba Wallace in the number 23 car and Ryan Preece in 37. So why Ryan Preece? I remember definitely seeing a tweet on Ryan Preece recently, and it was he has scored the 2nd most on super speedways this season, has 5 top 10s in 11 speedway races on the cup level, and even beyond that stat, he scores like top 15, and he really just knows how to survive these super speedway races. For Bubba Wallace, he finished 2nd at the Daytona regular season finale, and he really just knows how to work his way in at these super speedway tracks. He's gotten really top 10 at these top 10 fantasy results, even though he might not finish top 10, but those stage points definitely help a lot for both him and Preece.
Alright, so that's what we think about the main starters of our lineups. I'd like to talk about our bonus picks now. My main Jackuwarz lineup, I'm going Tyler Reddick for the win. It's just that I feel like he can get the win here. He's proven that he can survive Talladega, and he's also came really close to where he wasn't competing for the win at the very end, but he's shown a lot of speed at Las Vegas. He's got the momentum, so why not see if Tyler Reddick can give himself a win, even though he's not in the playoffs. Having RCR in the winning team also gives the option for Austin Dillon winning as well. RCR, if they can get themselves up front late in the race, I believe they can hold their own against the big dogs like Chase Elliott, some of the Team Penske drivers, and even Denny Hamlin. But if not, then we got Denny Hamlin in top Toyota. It'll complement well for not playing him this week at Talladega. Andrew showed me a tweet where Denny Hamlin has gotten top Toyota in about 3 of the last 4 Talladega races, so we'll play odds makers there. And I'm actually foregoing Ryan Blaney for this week. I wanted to use my final 3 Blaney plays elsewhere because the remaining schedule in the playoffs, Blaney's about as playable as any of the other tracks. And in case if he doesn't make the championship 4 at Phoenix, he's also a potent driver to have at Phoenix, especially if they're not in the championship 4, because they're going to be able to earn stage points for that race. So Blaney for top Ford. Fortunately, he just misses the cut on my main lineup for Jackuwarz 1.
For me, for top Chevy, I feel like it's William Byron. He's done really well at the super speedway races, or especially just at Talladega, where he's gotten an average finish of 17.14, but his average stage points are 5.8. So he's really done well to get himself a good amount of stage points and a good finish here at Talladega. And I think he can just continue on with that streak and even get top Chevrolet. If it's not for William Byron, I know Chase Elliott, like Jackuwarz mentioned, is another good option for top Chevy. And for me, for my race winner, I'm going with Ryan Blaney. I mean, he's been on a great streak of, finishing in the top 5 and finishing these super speedway races a lot. He won at Daytona, and why can he not come here to Dega and win a race and advance to the round of 8?
Indeed, Ryan Blaney is hands down going to be the favorite to win this week at Talladega. if it's not the likes of Denny Hamlin, or maybe one of the Hendrick Motorsports cars. Even though they haven't wanted a super speedway in quite some time, you might have to whip it back all the way to the 2019 spring race with Chase Elliott, if I'm not mistaken. But I do like the Hendrick Motorsports, the Chevrolet bow ties. If they work together just like that race, then maybe one of those can bring home the win, because since that Elliott win in 2019, it's been all Ford, and whatever super speedway wins that Denny Hamlin can get his hands on, that's been dominating the victory lanes for each of these super speedway races. So most of my bonus picks, besides Jackuwarz, I do have the idea of Chevrolet going with that upset for Talladega. So see what that gets me. And so that's our lineups for this week at the Talladega race week. The race coverage will kick off tomorrow or later today, Sunday, October 3rd. The race kicks off at around 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That'll be the time for when the Yellowwood 500 is underway. After this weekend at Talladega, we move on to Charlotte Motor Speedway to finish off the round of 12 for the Charlotte Roval race around the road course configuration. It's honestly one of my more anticipated races since its inaugural race in 2018. It's been a favorite race of mine on the calendar. The fact that it's in the playoffs is going to make it even better.
Yeah, and I hope everyone has a good fantasy week. I know it'll be wild and crazy since it's Talladega, and we look on to next week.
Best of luck to everybody in fantasy week. It's going to be a wild one yet again for Talladega. So take care. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you next time.